Hello and welcome to another episode of Transcendent Leader, the cutting edge of leadership in today's modern world. My name is Andrea Albright and I am your hostess. We also have our founder and creator of this magnificent series, Satyen Raja. Hello, Satyen.
Wonderful being here, always with you, Andrea. You bring such light and truth and power. Very appreciative.
Oh, thank you. It's my honor. And today we've had amazing interviews. And this one is going to be even more extraordinary. I can feel it. This person has really achieved what every entrepreneur dreams of achieving. He has created so many successful companies, empowered teams, built cultures that run themselves. He has even achieved something where he can step back and let the vision unfold. One of the many things that he's going to be sharing, his secrets to success and transcendent leadership. We've got Monte Lee-Wen joining us. Welcome, Monte.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, I could go on and on about how extraordinary you are. So I can do that, but I would love to hear from you, your background, how long you've been an entrepreneur, a CEO, and a leader. What's your background?
Well, you're too kind. I don't consider myself that extraordinary, but thank you. I consider myself a serial entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 19 years old in the mid-90s. Started my first company in the tech industry as a young, dumb kid, didn't know what I was doing. Was in college studying computer science and ended up in a life situation where I was kind of forced to start a business. So I've been an entrepreneur for a really, really long time and built a lot of companies and invest in a lot of companies. I sit on the board of several companies and recently this last year, actually, the beginning of last year, so about a year ago, I retired and stepped down from running the company after 18 years, which was kind of a nice experience to step back. But that's kind of where I am in life right now. I'm just in a new phase of life. But really my background is, I grew up in Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada. My father's an immigrant, and both my parents were not entrepreneurs. They were both job people. So entrepreneurship to them was totally foreign. So I'm really the first person and only person in my family who's become an entrepreneur and kind of gone down that path. So I kind of launched into my entrepreneur career really early. I got injured working at a warehouse and got forced to kind of become an entrepreneur, but I couldn't find anything else to do, and the unemployment rate was quite high during the mid-90s. So put me on an interesting path to success, and one that was extraordinary that I'm very fortunate to have gotten, even though at the time it seemed like a real uphill battle, but the fruits of it have been just incredible.
Amazing. Well, I know that you and Satyen have been collaborating for many years. And Satyen, I would love to hear your take on why you have asked Monte to share today about being a transcendent leader. Oh, now
there we go. There we go.
Got it.
One thing I admire about you, Monte, is your humbleness, your willingness. When we met years back, you had such openness with your wife, Natalie, such openness to learn, to receive, to dial yourself up personally, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And what I really admire about you and want to honor and acknowledge is that you don't just take the lessons of these wisdoms, these philosophies lightly and put them on a shelf. You actually absorb them fully. You actually aim to live them and make them manifest. So you're one of the rare individuals that takes transcendent leadership philosophies, ideas on growth, ideas on expanding your companies, and wholeheartedly put your whole mind, body, and spirit into it, and it has shown. The other thing I want to acknowledge is that you haven't just focused on the expansion of your business. One of the philosophies of transcendent leadership is cultivating a life of equilibrium. And as an entrepreneur, many of us are very focused on business, and that gives us great success in the business world, finances, and you've achieved greatness in that realm. But the other thing I want to share is that you've also spent and dedicated a lot of your life towards, putting deep love and connection into your family to foster the relationship with your wife, making that a very strong pillar of your life, fostering the relationship with your wonderful children, and now your third son as well. And that you do this from the heart. Usually as very strong business people, we're very focused in a directional energy, but you know how to take that and set it aside and then come back and reinvest in in really the things that really matter, of the spirit, family. And the other thing is that you also have cultivated in your equilibrium philosophy and the way you live your life, your health, your vitality. You've continued to study martial arts. You've continued to work on your fitness, your health. You've had health challenges in your life that you continuously overcome. And to me, you're an expression of a man who's not settling for the status quo, who's not settling for just what the external world says, anyone says regarding success. You are one of these adventurers who are willing to adventure in spirit as well as in the external world of success. And to me, this is the next expression of leadership in business, is a man, women, all of us who can create wonderful businesses that are thriving, that are having world level impact, that are serving our communities, serving our teams. And at the same time, you're taking care of the house, your health, your spirit. And so kudos to you. And I know you're just really, although you've been at this for many years, you're ready for another, even next phase of expansion. I can feel it deeply. So thank you. Thank you for being the demonstration.
Wow. I mean, there were so many incredible things that you touched on, Satya. Any one of those pillars of success would make an extraordinary life. Now, Monte, all humility aside, how does it feel when your mentor, your guide, your partner, when he says that about you, what are your feelings?
Oh, wow. It's great to hear it from somebody else, and especially from someone I've been working with for so long. Gosh, we've been working together since 2004, maybe in 2003, so many, many, many years. And I don't see necessarily all those things because I'm kind of in my head all the time, and heads down, getting things done. I'm a doer. I'm just the consummate entrepreneur out there grinding and getting things done. So I don't always, take the time to stand back and look at, hey, look at all these great things that I've done and who I've become. I do know that I've grown tremendously. Where I was when, even after selling my first business and then such, and I had a long way to grow in growth. And I built a company with, hundreds of employees, and we've acquired over $1 billion worth of commercial real estate. We're kind of a commercial real estate private equity fund, vertically integrated. We're buying and developing apartment complexes, all over the state of Texas and other states. And we've been very successful at that. But it's taken tremendous growth to build that kind of organization and attract the talent that we've had. So I definitely, can look back and say, wow, the growth that I've had has allowed me to become this leader that people want to follow and can buy into my vision, and we can accomplish great things together. So, although I know that I've grown a lot, but to see stand back and look at the fruits of it and hear Satya say these wonderful things about me that, I'm a very humble guy. So, hearing those kind of things is sometimes like, running your fingers on a chalkboard, because it's just, I don't like to present myself like that, right? I feel like a normal guy. I'm down to earth. I can hang out with anybody and talk to anybody. I'm not pretentious at all. And just, that's just kind of the personality I've chosen to develop. And so, but it's nice to hear it. It's great to hear that, I've done something right, I guess. So it's worked out.
Oh, I love that answer. Well, thank you for giving us an opportunity to pick your brain. And I want to invite anyone who's joining us live, feel free to submit your questions for Monte, for Satya. We'll make sure that they're covered, because I realize how rare this is to be able to speak to an entrepreneur who's not only created multiple companies totaling over $1 billion in assets, but also someone who has his life at home, his wife, his relationship with his family, with his children, and also his health dialed in. I mean, this really takes a level of success that most humans never could even find, much less achieve in all areas of their life. So please join us in the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. So Monte, I would love to ask you, how did you know that retiring was the best step for you to take in order for your organizations, your companies to continue to grow?
So for me, I have a style of leadership that's a little different than I think a lot of people, when they think about leadership. I'm all about, I don't want to be the guy. I've never built my business around me. I've never built my business around a cult of personality. I've never wanted to always be the one in the limelight. I've always pushed my C-level team or certain people within my organization to be out there talking and evangelizing about the business and taking that spotlight. So for me, I realized that, I've run the company for 18 years and it's been a great ride, but it comes a point when a founder of a company has to realize their limitations, and maybe the best thing for the company is to hand the reins to the next person. For me, it was also that we knew we were going to a new phase of growth, and I felt like, well, one, I probably didn't want to be the guy doing that next phase of growth because it's a lot of work, and frankly, I'm ambitiously lazy. I built a company so I could be lazy, and at the same time, I mentored and groomed a CEO that ran one of our subsidiary companies, and I groomed him with the idea in mind that he would be my succession, so that I could move to a more strategic role within the company, moving to the board. So I chair the board, which allows me to work with the company in a very different way, and I think in a way where my strengths can play well and help the company grow and achieve to the next level. Whereas our new CEO, Yen Yang, he's very operations minded, very systems minded. And we've moved into the institutional company where it needs someone who's more systems minded than I am. I'm that entrepreneur guy that wants to, I'm out there getting things done, but I'm not always thinking about systems and operations. I've had to wear both of those hats, but Yen's just better than I am at those things, frankly. But when it comes to building outside strategic relationships and raising money overseas or domestically in large amounts and building these bridges with other institutions, I'm really good at that. And that's where I wanted to see my time being used for the company. So it allowed me to build a succession plan within my company, get the people in the right places that can run the operation. And I've always wanted the operation to be able to succeed without me. I never wanted to be tied down. One of my driving forces of being an entrepreneur is freedom. I want the freedom to go travel around the world, and we do. I travel for months out of the year around the world for pleasure, and I wanted that flexibility. So that's what I built. If I built a company that if I left, it fell apart, I would never have that freedom. Or if it was always about me, or if clients wouldn't work with us unless I was involved. I never wanted that to happen. So I was very intentional about making sure that my team and my people were more important sometimes than I was. And I wanted to empower and elevate them so that they could interact and interface with our partners and with our clients. And those clients could feel comfortable. And if I wasn't in the room, it didn't make a difference. It was about the company, the organization, the people, the mission, and that was far more important than me.
Wow, that's amazing. Satyan, I'd love to hear from you. I know you've helped many CEOs transition, whether it's selling their company or exiting their company. I'd love to hear your take on how Monte did it and how he's been able to be so successful at his retirement in order to allow other leaders to thrive.
The concept that we have here at Warrior Sage, our transcendent leadership philosophy is, first of all, that we as an individual have to cultivate and come to a state of higher equilibrium. And to attain that, uh, we have to cultivate the freedoms in our life. Monte just shared about freedom is a high value and virtue and desire in him. And this is universal in us as entrepreneurs. There's a part of us that wishes to be free from the constraints of life, to be able to live the life that we wish, to be able to generate the lives we wish, to travel as Monte does around the world. I'm dialing in right now from beautiful Hawaii, which is my other working place, our space here that I also go back and forth. So to be able to have this type of freedom doesn't just come, it doesn't drop in your lap. It's a cultivation. That's a lifetime cultivation, and it's a dedication to that freedom, right? And it's not just a dedication to now, the here and now, and dealing with fires, dealing with what's going on in the present. It's cultivating a vision, a mission that inspires yourself, that calls the team together, that inspires the team, that has everyone corral around something of higher meaning, higher intention, as Monte shared, not just a personality cult base where we're all in deference to this amazing, magnificent character. When that character is not there, it all falls apart. So this philosophy that Monte has been sharing about bringing in, cultivating, fostering, nurturing, uplifting the lives of those who we feel in our organizations are the leaders that will take the reins with consciousness, take the reins with care, and be willing to do whatever it takes to move everything forward without us constantly propping them up from their own internal desire, from their own volition. For us as leaders, as CEOs, as leaders, business owners, we can't just put people into places just because they have a resume that seems like it fits the bill. Monte's company has as many steps towards hiring as he shared. Very slow to hire, very quick to let go of people, because this discernment of who should be in the most opportune positions is so key. This is not a new principle, but to live that principle in the urgency of running a business and to say, no, I'm going to choose the best people. We're going to go through the testing. We're going to go through the balances and checks. We're going to indoctrinate them in our values, in our philosophies, and we're going to see, are they a match, not just in capacities? Are they a match from within? Is their personality a winning personality? And I believe that Monte's success has a lot to do with this choiceful choosing and drawing and eliciting of the best within his teams, as he shared. Now, that's one element. The other element is the freedoms within ourselves. And in the transcendent leadership philosophy, we have what we call the freedoms, faith, cultivating a strong belief in yourself, connection to spirit, connection to God, connection to the love itself, connection to all of it, whatever faith means to you. But when you have strong faith in yourself, strong faith in the universe or spirit is on your side, and you align to that faith and you live and you foster that faith, however that looks for you, it's become such a nourishing aspect of our life. Our soul gets fulfilled. Because as entrepreneurs, we can't just be fulfilled by the things of the physical material universe. We also must get fulfilled by the things of spirit, good house. And that's what the next part of the freedom is. The next freedom is family, cultivating and seeing how can I nurture the love and the passion in my relationships? How can I nurture the love, the adventure, the joy with my children? How can I do that with my extended family? How can I do that with my teams? Ultimately, how can I be of greater service to the world and be an upliftment to the world family? So faith, family, finances. Finances is not just about earning. Monte has earned so much. He's earned great amounts of money in his life. But not only has he earned, he's also saved appropriately. He's spent wisely, and he's spent also on the things that bring him the highest joy. He saves with wisdom, creating strong banks and strong, if you will, groundedness for the future years to come, for his own family, for his company to grow with health, to save just in case there's challenges in economy here and there. So faith, family, finance, earning, saving, spending, and then investing wisely. Not just short-term expenditure, not just what must I do to relieve the tension and just go do something. Spending with long-term aliveness as the intention here. And then fitness, having having that discipline to say, you know what, my body is the conduit of my power. If my body is weak, my power is weak. If my body is weak, my impact will be weak. When my body is strong and healthy, when I have flexibility, when I have power, when I have strength in my body, then my presence in presentations is stronger. I show up with more of me. I have more energy to give my spouse. I have more energy to share with my children. And so it's not either one of these. It's saying that, you know what? I'm going to have faith, family, finance, fitness, but I'm going to do this all in the spirit of fun. How can I have joy as I live my life? Not postpone joy until I've made X amount. Postpone joy until this happens in my life. Monte has been a very powerful demonstration of living and continuously dialing in these principles of faith, family, finance, fitness, and having fun with all of it. And we can also put in fashion. He's pretty hot with his fashion when he's all gummed up. And so these F's have no ending. And these are the freedoms that we all have. Each entrepreneur has. All we have to do is choose it, align with it, and say we wish to have a life of complete freedom, not just one-sided freedom. And that's the essence that you live. And that's what this is all about. It's a new era where we must become a whole being to live a whole life, to be a whole demonstration, and to lift up the whole.
And that is why this conversation is all about transcendence, going to a whole new level of leadership. Now, Monte, Satya mentioned some of your health opportunities that have happened in the past. And, you know, to the viewer, they may just assume that you've got it all. It came easy to you. You're so lucky. You're in the right place, the right time. Could you share some of the health opportunities that you've had in your past and how you overcame them, how you grew mentally, emotionally, physically, and what gifts you were given during those times?
Sure. So, you know, I've always been focused on fitness because I've done martial arts since I was probably in first grade. So I always have stayed up with my physical fitness and stayed in martial arts. But, you know, I've ended up having some health challenges which were very eye-opening for me. You know, when I started the company, I didn't live as balanced as I do now, or as I have in the last, 10 years. I've been balanced for quite a while now, but I was really out of balance. You know, I was, burning the candle at both ends. I worked hard. I didn't manage stress as well as I should have. But there were some things that were just outside of my hands. They were in the hands of the universe that just, came and taught me some important lessons in my life. One of them happened right during the recession. I was actually in the process of closing this. At that point in time, it was the largest deal our business had done. We were buying a portfolio of properties. It was like a $50 million type transaction. And I turned out that I had a tumor. And I only found out because I got kicked in the face at martial arts and got my nose broken. And we were in the process of getting this deal closed. And I was fighting through, the markets at the time. And we were a couple of months away from closing. And this had been a long road to get this deal put together just because of the economy at the time. And I had to raise all this money when, people were losing a lot of money. So that was challenging in itself. But 2 months before closing, got kicked in the face, went to a ear, nose, and throat doctor. He's feeling around, finds this lump in my neck that I didn't notice. It was up kind of under my jaw. And he sent me in for a CT scan, and he came back and he said, I think you have lymphoma. And it looks really aggressive because it's really large tumor. So, that was scary because here I am, I'm a young guy, I'm in my early 30s, and, everything's, going great for me at the top of my game. I'm a public speaker. I'm out there speaking all the time. And, I felt really good about myself. So here I am right before this deal closes. Doctor wants to rush me into surgery. So surgery was a couple of days out from this appointment, but it was coming fast. So I had a few days to contemplate my mortality, thinking this could be it, right? I could have aggressive lymphoma. And what if I don't survive it? And thinking about my family, I had young kids, and I had this wonderful wife, and I'm like, what if I end up leaving everything behind? I don't have a succession plan for my business, and it really made me think about a lot of things. I went into surgery, woke up, and I can't speak. So it turns out the doctor removing the tumor severed the nerve to my right vocal cord. And I can't talk at all. And I can barely breathe because the way the vocal cords work, they kind of seal the lungs. And I now am leaking oxygen because it's paralyzed in the open position. And, you know, it's terrible. I can't breathe properly. I can't talk. Doctor didn't even realize he'd severed the nerve. It took a couple of days before he figured it out. And luckily, it didn't turn out to be lymphoma. It was a benign nerve sheath tumor, a very rare tumor. So I won the lottery, which was fantastic. Just not the lottery I wanted to win. And, you know, here I am, you know, getting this deal closed and I can't talk. So I had to rely on other people to be my voice. That was hard because I was used to being the guy that gets things done, that gets deals across the finish line, that negotiates the deals. So I'm having to now trust in other people. So that was a real shift for me in my leadership. I had to learn to communicate differently. I had to learn to let other people be my voice, even as simple as going to a restaurant. I remember going to a restaurant and here I am ready to ask for a table and I started to speak and nothing's coming out. So my daughter has to do it. You know, so I'm relying on my young daughter. She's 8 years old, you know, having to, you know, order for me, get a table for me. That was humbling. It was really humbling. So I ended up having now I didn't know I was ever going to be able to get my voice back. And it turned out there's this special doctor in San Antonio, works with cancer patients, throat cancer patients, and helps restore people's voices. So I went in for surgery 6 months later, couldn't talk for 6 months, which was very challenging, very, very tough. And I had corrective surgery. I woke up with the ability to speak. My voice was totally different. It was very weak. But for years when I was on the phone, people couldn't tell if I was male or female. I had to have years of voice therapy. I still have a voice coach, you know, after all that time. And it's been a long time. It's been a lot of years. So just a humbling experience. And I wasn't able to go back and public speak for a long time. And that was really hard for me because that was a big part of my self-image and who I was. So I had to overcome that. And it taught me to delegate. It taught me to speak less, listen more. It taught me to, when I do speak, use the most efficient route and communicate across more effectively and efficiently. And so it really improved my ability to speak. And what I noticed is before, I always have something going on in my head, right? Someone's talking, I'm not really listening because I'm formulating my own thoughts and my mind's racing a mile a minute. And after the surgery, I ended up having to listen a lot more and actually listen to what people are saying. And I'm like, oh, and I had to slow down. And, you know, when I'm speaking, I had to slow down. So it really changed my ability to communicate, and actually in a very positive way. And I think it made me a much better leader. And then after that, you know, we had some challenges through the recession like everybody else did. I got really stressed out, didn't take care of myself well enough. And, you know, I was on medications for my last surgery. And I ended up triggering an autoimmune disease because of stress. And that was brutal. That laid me out for a long time. You know, in the sense that, you know, for me, I was still working and hustling. I never let my employees know there was anything wrong with me. But I had to slug through some really tough times physically. And I realized that, you know, you can't, you know, no matter how much money in the world you have, you know, you lose your health. None of that money matters, right? You can't buy your health back. You can get good health care, but I can't undo, you know, the tumor. I can't undo the autoimmune disease. It's incurable, but I'll always have the rest of my life. Thankfully, I'm just on the right medications to control it, but I can't undo that stuff. Had I controlled my stress and lived more balanced, I never would have gone down this road of having this, you know, terrible autoimmune disease and having to continue to build the business. And we've accelerated the business since, you know, that time when I lost my voice. The business is night and day from where it was back then. We are bigger. You know, we've been published in a lot of news articles, and there's just been so much that's happened in the business and in growth. But had I not transformed and allowed myself to transform from those experiences, I never would have achieved what I've achieved. Right? I let those experiences really be a teacher to me, and I was humble enough to look for the lessons in what I was going through. And just, I had to adjust. I had to adjust my life. I had to adjust my style, my leadership style, my communication style. Everything had to adjust.
Thank you so much for sharing that story, for your openness, for your vulnerability. It's so powerful to hear what you've been through. And I'm curious, what were some of the powerful lessons that you learned from Satyen through that experience?
Well, I remember several times when, I was kind of feeling really down and struggling with these health circumstances. And a lot of times when you're just in it and you're dealing with it, it weighs on you very hard. Satyen spent a lot of time with me helping to process it and look at, the positives of my life and help me to, as he calls it, reduce the importance of the situation that's occurring, to make it so it's not such a big deal in my life, so that I could walk through it and not carry such heavy weight. Without those sessions, I think it would have been much harder for me to succeed through those tough times. The fact of the matter is we're human beings. We are imperfect. We don't have all the answers all the time. And I think, I've been fortunate to have good mentors like Satyen to help me navigate through things. I would love to say that, oh yeah, it was all me, that, oh, I'm just so powerful and I've got this such centered mind and centered soul that I can navigate through all this stuff by myself. But that's not the reality. And I don't think it's reality for anybody. I haven't met any entrepreneur that's been able to just navigate it all by themselves. So having people like Satyen, and Satyen's been my most important mentor for the last 14 years, 15 years, no, 16 years now. So it's been a long time. Time flies. And helping me process through those moments was such a gift that it's allowed me to really learn from those situations, because it could have been really easy to be a victim and be, oh me, oh my, I'm so, like, why is the universe so mean to me, and why is this happening to me? And I could have been there, and a lot of people go there, but one, I didn't allow myself to be there, and I sought out Satyen's time to say, hey, I need help, I need guidance, I need you to help me process through this, and he did. It was wonderful.
That's amazing. Well, Satyen, I'd love to hear your take on this. It seems like we hear the story of a successful leader who has some kind of breakdown and it takes them out. Can you speak to that, and what makes someone like Monte able to rise above that, rise through it, and even become stronger as a result?
One of the transcendent leadership principles is the utilization, well, it's the lowering of importance. It's utilizing this ancient Taoist philosophy, Eastern philosophy, that anything that is grabbing your attention, making you vehement against something, which is drumming you up, making you scared, making you nervous, anything that's riling your nervous system up, anything that's bringing strong emotions up constantly in an unhealthy way, it usually means that we are attributing a lot of importance onto things. We're going, this is important. And because you think it's so important, you put a lot of energy into it. The more energy you put into that, physical, mental, emotional energy and caring energy, it tends to get worse. It's like putting gasoline on fire. It gets worse. The more tightness you put onto something that you're having to deal with, the more tension you project on it, the more negative emotions you drum up. You see, struggle is effort that is laced with negative emotion. We need effort. Every entrepreneur needs to effort in life. We all, as beings, as humans, we need to effort. We need to take effort to do, just to even get on the internet here today. Now, struggle is adding excess emotional energy to it that's not needed. And so one of the principles is find where we are really captured by the noose of importance. What's getting our emotions fired up beyond the realm of health, beyond keeping us in center, and then going to the root of it within ourselves, in our psyche, in our psychology. Usually when we go to the root of it, we find that we have an imprint of struggle that started way earlier on. Usually our imprints regarding struggle come within the first few years of our life, from how our parents lived and flowed with life. And we learn the lessons of it's good to be struggle, noble to be a struggler, or we have imprints of we should win and lose, up and down, up and down. I believe these imprints that happen when we're younger, they continue to play themselves out later in life, mostly all unconscious. So part of the work we do in this leadership training is we find where do we have excess importance. And we go through inner processing, as Monte was sharing, inner awakening practices to reduce the importance, to calm our nervous system down, to ratchet our nervous system down, to bring it into another gear. When we lower the importance and we release that tight grip of control, then the next phase is look for advantage. And Monte, he said, look, I couldn't speak, but instead of just succumbing to that, he said, what is my advantage? He's learned how to speak with more clarity, to listen much deeper before speaking, to measure his words with more clarity, with more impact. So rather than succumbing to the failure or the potential harm or going, I give up regarding this challenge that he had, he turned it into an opportunity. And that is taking advantage of whatever comes to your table. This takes a strong fortitude, a willingness to turn around the crap in life, turn around the challenges and say, I must find how to make this a success. I must find how to make this an advantage for myself personally, for my business. And just by asking that empowered question with this deep sense of lowering the importance, what happens is wisdom comes up, deeper insights. You can't have clear insights when you're filled with importance and tension and struggle. You can only have clear insight, clear direction. You can only make the wisest decisions from a place of lowered importance. So this is a foundational principle, lowered importance combined with everything is an advantage. And it's a viewpoint. It's not rosy colored eyes. You're not being like a rosy colored, hey, everything is good for me. It's more of a real feeling. I shall take advantage of whatever comes my way. And this is an advantage. That's the warrior discipline here, is to penetrate the struggle and make it work for you.
Wow. That lesson alone is worth millions of dollars right there. And if more leaders were aware of that process, then we would see and hear less stories of leaders breaking down and taking them out of the game completely. So powerful. Thank you, Satyan. So Monte, can you please tell us about your relationship with your wife? I know you've been married for many years. You have a beautiful family. You just adopted a new son. Can you speak to your partnership with your wife and how that has transpired and how it has transcended over the years?
Absolutely. You know, my wife and I, we've been entrepreneurs together for a long time. We've been married going on 21 years as of January 31st. That's our anniversary.
Yay! Congratulations.
So a long time. You know, we've both taken the entrepreneurial path. You know, I'm a college dropout. She probably she has more college education than I do, and she's really smart. And we've just worked together really well. And we've always kind of put aside our egos. And we've worn hats, right? So together, when we started this company, she actually had her own company. So she didn't actually start on this path in my company until a couple of years in. She had her own company going, and she was very successful and doing very, very well. And then we decided that this path was going to be a little more successful and had a lot more potential. So we wound down her company, and she came over and joined me, and we worked together ever since. But a lot of people ask me, well, how do you work with your wife without killing each other? And, you know, it's very easy for us because we just decided and made this intention that the ego stays at the door, okay? When we're working together, no one really knows we're married, right? They can't really tell because we work together very professionally. She was a CFO, I was a CEO. We wore those hats at work. If I was going to talk to a CEO that wasn't my wife, and talk a certain way, I'm going to have no problem talking to my wife, who's the CFO, that way as well. So because there's no ego, we always left business at the door. So when we came home, there was no discussion about business. It was, you want to talk about business? put it on my calendar. We'll find a meeting sometime this week or next week when our calendars allow. So we treated each other very professionally and respected each other's role and space within the company. And that worked both ways. So we've been able to work together for many, many years with that dynamic, and it's been very successful. We've never had blow-ups at work or fought at work or anything like that. And even if we have a blow-up or argument at home in our personal lives, it doesn't come to work with us. It gets left at the door. And when we go to work, it's back to the right dynamic at work, and that's been very successful. We have a great relationship, and part of that's with Satyan and Suzanne, helping us both, my wife and I both, with just, fine-tuning our dynamics as a couple and being closer and building our relationship together. We have 3 beautiful kids, 2 of them biological. My daughter's 19, turning 20. My son is 14, and I have an 8-year-old adopted from China over the summer, and he's just integrated in the family so well, and it's really amazing. I've always considered myself a father first, because businesses can come and go. You can build a business, you can sell it, but my children are always going to be there. And I've never wanted to miss my kids' lives, so I've always made time for them, and I've always made them a priority. It goes back to my philosophy of being an entrepreneur, and it all started for me with vision, and not vision necessarily of the business I'm going to build, but the life that I wanted. The business was really a vehicle for me to achieve my ultimate vision for my life. But part of that vision, when I built my vision and wrote down all these things that were important to me, none of it was, oh, I want to buy a supercar. And I bought supercars. I have supercars, and that's great. But those were just, things that came along the way. But the most important things for me were family and philanthropy and legacy and relationships. Those were driving forces for me, and freedom. Freedom so I could spend the time I wanted with my family. I remember there was a short period of time I worked for someone after I sold my first company. I moved to the United States. I worked for some people for a little bit of time, not for very long. And I hated being told what to do. Hated being told, having to ask permission to take a vacation, to be able to spend time with my kids or go to a kid's event. Can I please? That's not the life I wanted. I didn't want to have to ask for permission. I wanted to just be able to do it because those things are more important to me, and I wanted to put those things first. So I had to find a vehicle in life that could get me that freedom. But my family is extremely important to me. And as I said, I'm a father and husband first, and that's where my time is invested first. It's kind of like that concept to pay yourself first. Well, my concept is to love your family first, love yourself first. Everything else will fall into place. And it has. And living that philosophy has been rewarding. And we have amazing children that have developed amazing personalities. They're not off doing drugs or saying, hey, you never showed up for this, or hating us, which I've seen a lot of, families deteriorate into those kind of dynamics because the family's intentions and their priorities were on career and business first, and their family was secondary, whereas we flipped it into reverse. And I think intuitively you might think, well, how can you invest so much into your business and make it so successful and make all this money if that's not your first priority? Well, the business is a vehicle to make sure that this stays my priority, right? So it's a very different philosophy, and it's worked. It's worked well for us.
That's amazing. So Satyan, why is the family and relationship so important for the warrior sage?
Oh, it's the heart. If our heart is not happy, then what is happiness? All the great sages, all the great wisdom keepers from time immemorial have shared that the things of life are to enjoy as pleasures, but the real richness is the family at home. If you're single and by yourself, then the richness is getting in touch with yourself as a human. If you have a beloved, a spouse, then the richness is there. Suzanne, my wife, and I, we have a philosophy, and that's ignite passion first, our passion. Everything else can wait. Monte and Ali have adopted, and they've brought that into their lives where they ignite their relationship, their family life, as we do as well. Suzanne and I, we ignite our life with our family first, because that crucible, when it's healthy, when it's wholesome, you have this where our children love us, want to be with us. We want to be with our children. They're not filled with resentment that we weren't there for them. They're filled with joy that we took the time to raise them. Now that they're both are young adults, my children, Suzanne and I's children, they're young adults as well. And they're at the stage where they're like, wow, you had so much success going on. My daughter called me the other day and she says, I still, like, no matter what was going on around you, you were willing to put all of that aside and still take and be with us and be with us. They remember that. You cannot buy back memories. You cannot purchase memories. You can only make memories now. And so when we look back, one of the practices in transcendent leadership is to go to the end of life. See yourself on your deathbed and feel, how do I feel now? What is most important to me? What did I want most of? What is most valuable? What makes my heart and my soul happy and fulfilled? And for most of us, many of us, it's having a healthy family. It's having healthy love and passion and connection and affinity and truth and reality in our family, and feeling that bond is there for a lifetime. That is priceless. And so for myself, and in this philosophy, having a strong family unit, and even if it's tense, for some of us, you might have tension. You might not have invested in your family. You might have thought that if I invest there, out of good reason, if I put investment there later down the road, when I've made enough, I can finally put my energy back to my family. And what I want to share from my heart to you is that it doesn't work that way, as Monte and I have shared. How it really works is family is in the center. Spirit is in the center. The things that bring fulfillment now, we do not need to postpone later. And we only have our children and our family once. And not 1 minute of that time can be recaptured again. So our investment with our true heart presence, our investment with our time, trust me, by saying and reconscripting and making home the castle, the true castle, what happens is then all our businesses serve that. And our businesses then help to serve our other teammates. It helps them live more prosperous, joyful lives. I believe this is the new era. It's the old era, but it's the new era coming again, where we reprioritize fulfillment, the sanctity of home, the happiness of our home base, and making that the ground to leap and to experience all the adventures and freedoms of life.
It's incredible. What a beautiful message. You don't have to pick success or happiness. It's so empowering. Well, we actually have a question that's come in, and this is for Monte. So what qualities do you look for in a leader when you are looking for someone to take over an organization? Great question.
Great question. Well, I'm a big believer that leadership starts with integrity, right? So I'm always looking for someone that has values and integrity that match mine. That's first and foremost. The other thing that's important is looking for qualities like communication ability. I believe that leadership distills down to a fundamental principle called influence. And if you can't influence, then you're not going to be successful in being a leader. So I look for someone who has the qualities that allow them to be a person of influence in my organization, where they can get people to buy into their message and listen to them, or bring them along. Someone that's willing to empower, someone without ego. The worst kind of leader is someone who wants all the glory, and when other people have glory, they steal it from them. So I'm always like, that's on my radar, looking out for the big red flag of, does this person have too much ego? Are they going to be the kind of person that would be okay letting someone else shine in the limelight and not them? So those are important qualities for me, because I'm looking for leaders of leaders to run my organization. And that's an elevated position of a leader, is not just leading people, but leading other leaders. And leaders are not going to follow just anybody. They're looking for a leader of strong influence that they're going to be willing to buy into their vision. Because if that leader is weaker than them, they'll never follow, they'll leave. And I have some very powerful, strong leaders in my organization. So it takes an exceptional leader to lead those people. Because these are polished, smart people that have phenomenal educations from, some of them, Ivy League schools, deep careers, deep levels of leadership, and they're not just going to follow anybody. So it had to be someone who had the right charisma and capability and the right level of relationship ability and communication. And again, not having that ego is huge. I've made some bad hires in the past where I remember having someone running a part of my organization, just a department that was very insecure as a leader, and they could never allow someone else to shine. I fired that person very quickly because they were toxic in the organization, because we believe in empowerment from the lowest units and lowest levels of the organization, empowering those people to be leaders and people of influence and have a say and a voice within the organization. And if someone stifles that, that's got to change, and it's got to change quickly.
That's amazing. Satyan, would you like to touch and add to that?
Well, Monte and Natalie invited me to coach, be a success coach. My team, my organization came in, has been working with his team for the last year. And I have to attest that the leaders you have in all your companies and the positions are all exemplary. They have great care, they have great capacities, they have great wisdom, they have great insight, great knowledge and education. And it's true, by creating a culture where, if you will, the leader has the respect of everyone else. And to have that respect, Monte was sharing, they have to be a person of deep influence. And to be a person of deep influence, what we've been doing with all the leadership in Monte's companies is having them, first of all, recognize leadership, and to have influence, you must be someone that others want to follow. So what is the demonstration of your life? What is the demonstration of who you are, how you're being, how you're guiding, how you're communicating, how you're inviting, how you're directing? Everyone has their own nuanced styles. Everyone has their own capacities. But all of those capacities of leadership can be continuously dialed up, improved, deepened, flowered, matured, galvanized, made whole. And so it's essential that any hires that we do, we put people in positions that are going to be respected by other people. And how do we know that? Does this person respect everyone else's capacities? Do they respect their teams? Do they feel, wow, I have such a great team? Are they willing to make the tough moves? Are they willing to let go of people who are toxic, who are not aligned? And are they willing to toe the line and to say, here are the standards. These are the standards of how we run. Here's the standards of how we run this department. Meet these standards. This is our invitation. And if you don't, it's not the place for you. That's a strong stance to have, where you're not forcing people to adopt your philosophies of leadership or your ways or your values. You're holding the bar through demonstration. You're holding the bar through invitation into the way you do things. And so this is the way we do things here, is the magic word sentence. The way we do things here, the way we do things is. And by sharing that with confidence, whatever that is, by getting clear on the way you do things, with vision, with mission, with company values, with cultural values, with cultural processes, by having that all distilled and dialed in and clear, then what happens is everyone's leadership grows. And then everyone in the company realizes the leaders aren't just them. I too have an opportunity to be a leader. And this you can see in Monte's companies. Everyone feels like I can be a leader, I am a leader, and at the same time, I'm a follower. I can listen volitionally. I can follow the vision. I'm inspired to move forward and take command. And so ultimate leadership in the transcendent philosophy is being an excellent leader and an excellent follower. We're both. We're following a vision, we're following a mission, we're following our teams that are higher than us, and at the same time, we're saying, and anyone who's new, anyone who's just coming into the organization, there's also that power to say, come this way. Here's the way we do things. Here's with an artful way. There's education going on, upliftment. So this is a transcendent cultural organization, is when you have everyone being given the power and the position to lead and to follow the best they can. And Monte, I have to say that with all your companies, that is so deeply infused in the culture, and it's alive and you can feel it. And so, kudos to you for having that and to maintain that and to maintain that over the years. And I have to say, now that you're retired, that your CEO and the teams that are running, the level of leadership is just even going to the next level, because you have allowed them to step into the void that you've released. This is the ultimate form of leadership, is saying, come, my friend, into this position that I've held so long, and training them to do it well. Not just the stuff they have to do, but training them in the character of who they need to be at their best to hold the great vision and mission at large.
Once again, it's about that integration where you're both a follower and a leader, creating the wholeness. Such a powerful message. Well, I know that we have only scratched the very top small percentage of a surface of the depth of wisdom and knowledge that you have about leadership, Monte. So to conclude, we're asking everyone this. What is your number one action step or piece of advice that you would give the viewer on how they can bring the qualities of being a transcendent leader into their life, into their business, into their organization, and into their legacy?
Sure, that's a great question. I would say first and foremost is to invest in yourself. You're going to be the common denominator in everything you do. And therefore, the best investment you can ever make is in yourself and your own personal growth and development. I truly believe that everything rises and falls on leadership, and your level of leadership will determine your level of success. John Maxwell calls it the law of the lid. Your level of leadership will create a lid on your business's level of success. So you constantly have to be growth-oriented, not goal-oriented, growth-oriented in developing those skills. I know a lot of entrepreneurs who spend all their time reading business books on strategy and tactics and how to do certain things and technical information, and they spend very little time on self-mastery and self-development and leadership development. But really, if they only spent the time in those areas, their companies would accelerate far beyond. Technical information is easy to learn. And frankly, I've got amazing team members in my company that bring ideas and concepts and things to the table that I don't necessarily have to know it all. I just need to be able to create an environment where that can thrive and we can bring these great ideas into the organization. And so just investment is so important, and just get on that path of self-investment. Don't, and the other thing too is to be successful in business, you can't burn yourself out. Don't burn the candle at both ends and think that, oh, I've got to front load everything and I just got to do it all in a day. Success is found in your daily calendar. Consistency is far more important than trying to get it all done in a mad rush. You can only hold a mad rush for so long. You run out of gas, you burn out. And then what happens? You lose all of your momentum that you've created, and you got to start over to create that momentum. So you got to take care of yourself, take care of your mind, your body, your soul, your family, your relationships. Develop yourself holistically as a person, touching on all these important areas, especially leadership. Leadership is the most important thing. The people that make the most money in this world are the most successful, are the most amazing leaders. And that's a fact. It's, leadership is the most important skill you can ever develop.
Wow. Well, that is a perfect way to end this interview. Congratulations on everything you've achieved for yourself, for your family, and for the hundreds of other employees and team members that you've created such abundance for.
Thank you.
Satyen, I would love for you to give us your final thoughts for today's Transcendent Leader interview.
Well, Monte, you're a really wonderful example of living these principles in real time, and the results show for themselves. And so what I have to share with all who are listening is we all have that capacity within us. We have shared these teachings, these philosophies. Now, all it takes is if there's any part of you that could lift any of these principles up and take them into your heart and say, I shall apply this. I shall bring this into my own life, shore myself up and bring it into that. You, me, we all have the capacity to enjoy the fulfillment of life. And there's no need to defer it till later. What my invitation is and challenge is to take this stance, this inner call to be that fullness of a transcendent leader you can be, and watch what happens just by making the claim that this is the path I wish to walk on, and nothing less than that. That's the challenge and the invitation.
Thank you so much for being here, Monte. I know that just because you're retired, you're not done. I know I'm not the only one who's going to be following you, and congratulations for everything that you're achieving.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here and to talk about a topic that I love, and to be able to see my mentor here on the screen and hear his wisdom. I always enjoy spending time with Satya, and this is a really cool way to do it.
Aw. And just the beginning. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that we are eager to hear from you. What was your big takeaway? How has this conversation transcended your view of leadership? And how are you going to apply it today? What's your action step? What are you going to do differently? We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Satyan, for being here, for creating this, and for all that you give to leaders and humanity.
Thank you. Thank you, Monte. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you all for being here and receiving so deeply.
Well, this concludes another fantastic episode of Transcendent Leader. Thank you for being a part of this. We are all co-creating. We are all rising together. And we will see you next time. Until then, here's to your transcendence.